They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet 'cause they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho,
they're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
but where is he? Hey everyone, it's me, Seth Rudetsky. And now I have a silent partner. You know those crazy corporations that have silent partners? No, the end of the story is James is fine. He got his second shot yesterday and he's just exhausted. So he's like, I am too tired to do the show. So I said, I literally was full Michael Lee Scott. You know Michael Lee Scott? He would always be the swing backstage knitting. And the person on stage would be like, da 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 da, I'm out. And the swing is like, I'm in. Anyway, so I'm in. But by the way, I'm on every night, so I'm not really in. I'm always in. So I'm very excited to do Stars in the House. Thank you, Michael Lee Scott. I love the knitting. I'm in. It's Stars in the House. I'm Seth Rudetsky. What the hell is Stars in the House? Wait, first time at the very start was that Laura Benanti. Cody, where have you been? No, that's Liz Calloway. She's been singing this theme song for literally a year. Any to the who. Stars in the House. This is the fundraiser that we do for the Actors Fund. We began more than a year ago because we had our 1 year anniversary last week. And you may say, what is the Actors Fund? Why should I give a bunch of rich actors money? First of all, it's not just for actors. It's for anybody in the arts. So if you're watching right now, and just as a side story, I was talking to somebody today, very prominent in the arts that I've worked with that is suffering with leukemia right now. And she's starting a Kickstarter. Her friend started one for her. And I wrote to her and I said, you know, you can get help from the Actors Fund. And I don't think she knew. And she's been in the business for literally 40 years. She's just not an actress. So maybe she thought she couldn't get it. But anybody, anyway, I hooked her up. Anybody in the arts, in the performing arts. So yes, people on stage for sure, but people behind the scenes like wig makers, costume designers, publicists, stage managers, assistant stage managers, musicians, anybody in TV and film, anywhere in the country. So it's not like just for Broadway. It's for anywhere. If you're in the entertainment field in any aspect, you can go to actorsfund.org and you can say, I cannot pay my rent. I can't pay my medical bills, whatever your bills are. I can't pay my utilities, and they will give you the cash. And if you've already gone and you're like, well, I guess that's my last chance. They're now up to their second round. So if you've never gone, definitely go. And if you've already gone, go again. So that's what we're raising money for, the Actors Fund. And we started it when everything shut down because we knew no one's going to be working. And boy, they're not working. I mean, TV and film a little bit, but the live stuff, forget that noise. So if you can help, we would love it. You go to starsinthehouse.com and it's scrolling on the bottom there. And that's where you make your donation. Or you can text Fund 2020 to 56512. You're going to get a receipt. Forward your receipt to donations@starsinthehouse.com and I will send it to one of our artists tonight. David will turn it literally into a play. What? How's that possible? The point is he will, everyone's going to read one of the donations. So $5 is the minimum that they accept on the website, but send it. I'm going to tell you why it's really important you send tonight. Because we've been raising money for the last year and we are now officially up to, get ready, usually I play. We are officially up to $799,395. Meaning tonight, if we raise $605, we will have raised officially $800,000. So let's please try to get that $605 tonight so we could hit $800,000. Isn't that exciting? I'm excited. Why am I wearing a flannel shirt? You know, I thought it's like the end of March, like it's my last chance to wear. Why am I showing the rack? Okay, what else do I have to do? James actually so sweet. Is so tired, but actually typed everything else so I wouldn't forget. Oh yeah, can you please like this video? If you like this video on YouTube, it really, really helps because it helps the algorithm. So just like click like, do not click dislike, not in the mood for comedy. Click like. Can you share it, which is really easy. You just, copy and paste what you're watching right now and put it in your social media and go, oh my God, this is gonna be such a fun show. I just know it. And can you also subscribe? The more subscribers we have, the more it's easier for us to ask like big agents and say, can you bring, like Jose Llana literally refused to do the show tonight unless we had met a certain amount of subscribers. And thankfully we met it, but it's very impossible I can't. He's just a total diva. But we met his criteria, but I really like to get it so that Ann Harada said this is her last one, unless we actually go above. Yeah, it's just biatch. So anyway, please subscribe. that is it. Okay, so every show this week, we work with the National Immigration Law Center. We've been raising money for them ever since Contra for America, and we are having them on every single night this week talking about the new immigration bill. And we're trying to theme each show to be about immigration. So tonight is hashtag AAPI Broadway. So we're going to have someone from National Immigration Law Center on tonight. So we're going out of order. So normally we have the medical break in the middle, but we're going to have National Immigration Law Center in the middle. So we're going to start with our medical break. We actually have a real life doctor here. We've been having him since the very first episode, March 16th, 2020. He is the CBS Chief Medical Correspondent. Please welcome Dr. Jonathan Lapook.
Hey, I'm sorry, James is conked out.
Yeah, but your hair looks great.
Yeah, I just got out of the shower. I want everybody to know what it is like to be a doctor in the time of COVID. You see that excoriation?
I don't know what the word excoriation means. So already you lost me.
Redness, and it's raw, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's from wearing an N95 mask, because today I saw patients and I was doing procedures, and you have to protect everybody, and you're wearing these. And I'll tell you, it definitely gets to you after a while. I mean, as a physician, just to, first of all, to be seeing this part of people, I want to see their whole face. So anyway, just a little nod to the fact that we're all sick and tired of this.
Yes, but I think it's important to say you've been vaccinated, but you're still wearing the mask.
I'm vaccinated because here's what's going on today. Lots of good news and lots of, come on, guys, let's get our act together. The good news is President Biden, you might have heard, he announced 200 million shots in the first 100 days because they were ahead of their goal with that. So that's great. We're seeing more and more vaccine becoming more widely available, and various states are actually opening it up to everybody. That's great. Supply is good. But on the other side, we're seeing vaccine hesitancy still, people not getting their vaccines who should get their vaccines. And it's not just a matter of saying, hey, get the vaccine. We've got to explain to people. We've got to talk to them, say, we got to listen first. What are your problems? What are you questioning? Why aren't you? And so I think we got a lot of work to do with that. And the reason why we have to is, you might have heard that the New York City variant is flirting with becoming a variant of interest to a variant of concern, that it may be spreading more. Well, we think it is spreading more quickly. The question is it, what other features does it have? Is it more deadly? Is it, more resistant to the vaccines? We're figuring that out. But folks, we can stop these. We can really dampen down, throw cold water on these variants of concern, which are mutations in the virus. When the mutations team up, they can team up to form a variant, which means that the virus has some feature that makes it more problematic. It's more infectious, it's more deadly, it's more resistant to vaccines or previous infection, your immunity from previous infection. The way we stop that is by stopping the virus from spreading. If it can't spread, it can't divide. If it can't divide, it can't mutate. If it can't mutate, it can't become a variant of concern. So anybody who can get a vaccine, get a vaccine. And you got to wear, like I did, the mask. Why am I wearing a mask if I'm vaccinated? Because there is a possibility I could still be carrying a virus. I could be infected without knowing it. And then I could be shedding it and giving it to somebody else. So, and I want to be protected also from somebody who might be carrying a variant that perhaps my vaccine doesn't protect me against. So we're not out of the woods yet, folks, but I can see the silhouette of the end of the forest. I really can, but we just have to we got to do everything right. We can't screw it up now. That's my spiel.
Basically, I'm seeing the vaccine and the mask like going to jury duty. It's annoying and it's not fun, but it's your civic duty. You just have to do it. You have to get the vaccine. You have to wear a mask, because it's not about you per se. It's not just you getting sick. It's about you getting sick and therefore spreading the variant. Like, it's a public health, what's the word? Public health
crisis.
Correct.
But it's a public health crisis, and it's a responsibility, that people have to, obviously to look after their neighbor. But, it's a novel coronavirus, so we don't have immunity to it. So perhaps we'll get to a point where herd immunity protects the person in the middle of that herd. That's that idea, in the middle, even though you're not vaccinated, even though you're not immune, there are enough people who are immune to keep it from getting to you. But basically, with a novel virus, you're going to either get vaccinated or you're going to get the virus. You're going to either get vaccinated or you're going to get COVID at some point. It may be a mild case. I mean, unless that herd is around you perfectly, but you can't rely on that. It took us decades to eradicate smallpox. We're not going to do that with SARS-CoV-2. I mean, it's going to, and we're not going to get out of this pickle until, I mean, more than a pickle, but we're not going to get out of this terrible pandemic until we really vaccinate the entire world. Because what can happen is, first of all, we're going to help them, great, and second of all, it can have a variant over there, it can ping pong back and get us. And the last thing I'll say is, remember last night I talked about how the AstraZeneca Oxford data was being recompiled, and it was going to probably be a little less than the 79%. In fact, it was 76% effective. But for people who are over 65, it was actually a little more effective than they said. It was actually 85% instead of 80% at preventing, symptomatic illness, and 100% still protective of death. And there was no increased risk of clots and the things they were worried about in Europe for a while. So get vaccinated. I still am saying to all my loved ones and friends, you get the first vaccine that you can get.
They all prevent hospitalization and death, all of them.
I mean, they're all amazingly effective. We've been so spoiled. It's a technological tour de force. It's astonishing that we have this vaccine in a year. It's amazing. Now get it.
By the way, started being created 20 years ago, but it's available within a year.
Very good. So beginning of 2003, the first SARS virus, they created this virus platform. It took 20 months to make that vaccine. And then over the years, it got less and less and less and shorter and shorter. Zika took 3 months. This took 65 days. So it's not like somebody said, let's make a vaccine. We can use my mother's barn. No, it was based on technology and science and taxpayer dollars and people really working hard for decades and decades and decades, scientists, researchers. And this is the culmination. This is what happens when you invest research dollars in science and technology. So now we got to remember, what you're supposed to do with the vaccine. You're supposed to put it in your arm.
Yes, ma'am. All right. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Dr. LaPook. I want to say hi to Natasha Williams, who's watching right now. Hey. And I totally agree with Susan. Ann Harada. Ann Harada should be hosting by now. I totally agree. Ann Harada, do you want to host? I think you'd be so hilarious. Ann Harada?
Not tonight, Seth. No.
I'm leaving. I'm going to put you on like a pop quiz. I'm going to see if you can do it. No, I want you to host. I think.
Yeah, I know. We keep trying to figure out a day, but
maybe
did you tell everybody what happened to me yesterday?
Oh, this has happened to a lot of my friends. So I got a very sad text from Ann Harada. Sorry, our filming went late. Sorry, I missed it. I was like, it's actually tomorrow. Now what?
But it's because I got an email from David that said, here's your link to the Zoom tonight. And I was like, what?
David.
I was like, what's happening? Have I lost my mind? Well, of course I have lost my mind because I was like, no, I got the day wrong. And it was, yesterday, you know what I mean? I was like panicked.
I still remember being 11 o'clock at night. I was in my pajamas. Buzz, hello? It's Norm. Happy birthday. Norm, my party is tomorrow night. He literally showed up at 11 o'clock one night, Norm Lewis. I was like, he's the Ann Harada of. All right, here we go. So let me bring on the rest of this cast. I'm blaming you, even though it's David's fault. Let me please welcome the rest of this amazing cast. The wonderful, he's got to have a lot of subscribers to be here. Jose Llana. Hi, Jose.
Let me get in my shot here. There you go.
Hi. The amazing author, Flower Drum Song. Hey, David.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dave.
David, why the Henry? Was someone else in playwright equity? So you had
it's actually my dad's first name, and he really wanted me to use it when I was in college. And then at a certain point, I tried to lose it, and he got really mad at me. So I just kept it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I knew why. Please welcome the lovely Pearl Sun. Hi, Pearl.
Hi, everybody.
I saw a lot of videos of Pearl and Jose online. Adorable. And finally, please welcome. She looks very cute in her little glasses, Miss Ruthie Ann Miles.
I don't have my glasses, so thank you.
Really cute. So tonight we are shouting out, like I said, we're trying to theme it with immigration. We're shouting out AAPI. And the immigration story I know off the top of my head is Jose Llana. So Jose, just talk for a second about your family, where they came from, and the scariness.
Oh, okay. Well, I was born in the Philippines, and as was my sister and my parents. And in the mid to late 70s, like a lot of people, there was a big exodus going out of Manila because of Marcos. And when immigration opened up here in the States, a lot of people came. And so my mom and dad came about a year before we did in 1978 to find jobs and find a place for us to live. And then in 79, when I was 3 and my sister was 4.5, we came here to the States and been here ever since. So we grew up, we were in Queens for a year in Flushing. And then, because my mom got her first job at UNICEF at the UN. And then she had another job at the IMF in DC. And that brought us to DC. And I grew up in Virginia. So that's my immigration story.
And when they left for America and you were still in the Philippines, so you and your sister just got like a cool bachelor pad for like a year and you were just like, it's all good.
Actually, we stayed at, so my mom is from Manila, my father's from the north in Ilocos, and we actually moved in with my grandparents up north, my dad's parents. And so the only language I spoke coming to America was my dad's dialect, which is Ilocano. My mother spoke Tagalog. And so when I came to the States, I only spoke Ilocano. My sister spoke Tagalog, Ilocano, and English. So she was my translator. She was a genius. And my aunt, my mom's youngest sister, my aunt Sita, she's the one who brought us over. She was a teenager. She was 19. She couldn't understand me because I spoke my father's language. And so my sister was like the translator for all these different people as a 4.5-year-old. So she's kind of a genius, and she continues to be a genius. So that's our story. And I was a little tyrant when we got off the plane, I think in San Francisco where we flew in. I quickly separated from my aunt and my sister, and they found me later on baggage carousel, like having fun, like twirling around. So that was how I entered the country. So
be honest, they found you in the Castro. Okay, next up we have like a really fun bookstore. Okay, I have the lovely Pearl's son, who I don't know about any immigration story, but I do know this. In 2011, Pearl played Diana in the Next to Normal production I saw in Toronto. She did good. I cried.
Oh, that's very nice.
So what is your family story?
Both of my parents are from mainland China. Well, they were born in mainland China, the northern end. And after the communist takeover, both sides of my family moved to Taiwan to escape and do their thing. And then my mother in her mid-20s moved to San Francisco all by herself. She didn't hardly speak any English. And she landed, and there was a woman who was waiting at the airport for her, who was a friend of her cousin's, who had a photograph in her hand going like this at the arrivals area, and met my mother and happened to have a friend who had a room to let in San Francisco. And so she picked my mother up, drove her to this place, and just dropped her off. And my mother started walking the streets of downtown San Francisco, looking for ways to make money. And, when she was in Taiwan, she was one of 2 women who graduated in her university. And so she had all this education behind her, but came to the States and didn't have any English. So
Right.
what did she do? She found a sign in a salon that said "Help Wanted." And what did they need help with but to sweep floors? So she started sweeping floors, and you don't need to know English to do that. And then she looked around and she learned a little bit about hair cutting, and then she learned a little bit about manicuring, and she got her manicuring license and then moved to Los Angeles and opened her own shop and has supported our entire family doing that. And put me through to college, and also brought in, at that time, immigration was different. And so she became a US citizen. She was able to bring all of her relatives in. So all of all of my uncles, my grandparents, my father's side of the family, it was all on her back.
amazing.
First of all, the triumph is amazing. Second of all, last night, I don't know if anybody has this knowledge. I hope someone here does. I was reading the statement from Rabbi Sharon Kleinbaum, who was saying that they're in the 20s, in order to keep out Jews and Italians, they added this whole quota system. So this whole myth about there's always been a quota, it's not true. It began in the 20s, and that's really what led to it being so easy to kill all those Jews in the Holocaust, unfortunately. But she mentioned before that there was a Chinese Exclusion Act, which I don't really know about. So does anybody have information on that? Because I don't know what the details are.
Well, it was in 1882.
Yeah.
The Chinese Exclusion Act. We were the first people to be not permitted to enter the country. So that's our history here.
Yeah, I think we're the only group of people ever to be excluded from the U.S. by nationality. And
Right.
it wasn't repealed until during World War II, because at that point, with China being an ally with America against Japan, it was sort of embarrassing that they weren't letting Chinese people into the country.
Wow. So it wasn't just it wasn't a quota. It was literally exclusion. Who's ripping off Velcro? The hell? I don't know where it's coming from. No, that's not Ruthie because you're muted. That was a crazy sound. Still there. Hold on. I can tell by muting. Ruthie, it's not you. Maybe it's Ann. Here, Ann, why don't you speak? Oh.
What?
Ann, what's your story? What's your family story? I love your parents.
My grandmother was a picture bride. She came over from Japan to marry a farmer, a laborer. Everybody worked in the cane fields in Hawaii or the pineapple fields. And so, she came from a poor family, and they were looking for people and she came. I mean, I just think, when I think about it, it's just so brave and weird and crazy. Yeah. Your life is so crappy that you're just going to get on a boat to someplace you don't know and marry some guy you don't know.
Right.
Is that just the nuttiest thing you've ever heard of? And then the guy, so she gets married to this guy. They have 3 children, and then he ups and dies. So then she marries his friend, and she has another 6 children. And my mother was the youngest of those 6. So my mother was the youngest of 9 total over 2 guys, both of whom were way super dead by the time I showed up. Way, way long time dead. So I never met either of my grandfathers, only my grandmothers. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
But you talk about the bravery. It's now, before I go to a hotel, it's a lot of Google Maps, 55 reviews on Yelp. It's people just showed up, not knowing language. I can't even imagine, just being in another country and just wandering. No cell phone. I mean, you can't.
No, you can't do anything. You have no language. You have no sense of anything, right. And you're just going on the kindness of strangers, man. It's rough. Yeah,
I mean, I think we're all kind of the same generation. And my grandparents came over as babies. I think we're all basically first, second generation. And I think it was my grandfather was in the Russian army. I think you had to be in the Russian army. And I think he beat up his sergeant to escape, apparently. And then to get out of Russia, he, not since me, literally dressed in drag. That's what I heard, that he disguised himself as a woman because he had a really pretty face. And because he was very blue-eyed, and he disguised himself as a woman, and that's how he escaped Russia, and that's how he got to America. And I continue the tradition with my amazing drag work. Still got it.
That's
okay.
That's actually the second subplot to Anastasia is
Yes.
A drag queen escapes, sings a big second number, and then
it's the third act. Okay, David, what's your story?
Let's see. So my parents my father's was from Shanghai, and my mom is from the Philippines, where Jose's family's from. Except they were ethnic Chinese, so they were sort of Chinese merchants in the Philippines. They both came to the U.S. for college in the 50s, so you could still get in on a student visa, although you weren't necessarily supposed to stay here. But my dad came first. My mom was a pianist, so she came to study piano at SC. Got here on Inauguration Day in 1953, which would be January 20th, right? And then she meets my dad on Valentine's Day at a foreign students dance. So that's 34 days after she arrives. And he scoops her up, and that's just what happened.
You have the least scary story of anybody.
Sorry.
It's like piano major, romance. Pearl's like she wandered the streets. Like, terrifying. David, yours is fab, but mine is drag queen. Okay, and then finally, by the way, I keep forgetting to remind people. Don't forget, we got to make $600 tonight to get to 800,000. So stop being so swept up in the stories. Keep the donations coming. Starsinthehouse.com. We got to get $605 to get to $800,000, so we can help basically everybody who's out of work right now. Ruthie and Miles, let's see how your crazy internet is.
How's my crazy internet?
It's delayed, but you sound fine.
Great. So, gosh, like I'm listening to everyone's story and I'm being swept up too. I hope I don't cry. Mine's kind of sad. Well, no, it's so my mom and dad, my dad is Caucasian and he was in the military, and my mom is Korean, and they met in Korea and had me. I was born in the States, like just in case I wanted to be president. My dad really wanted me born on U.S. soil. But when I was a few months old, we went back to Korea, and I was there till I was about 5. During that time, my dad was not in the picture anymore, and so my mom came to America kind of looking for him. And she kind of spoke the language. She had her music degree. She's very, very proficient in music, and so that's how she made her living in America, trying to make sure that I was learning English, and I was excelling in school. When I was a kindergarten, they thought no, it wasn't kindergarten. It was when we moved to Hawaii. I was in the 2nd grade. They were like, they didn't realize I was ESL, so English second language, and so they were like, oh, Ruthie's like special needs. She's like really slow in English, and I just never thought of myself like that because I spoke English with my family, and I was like, like we're kids. Like, English is fun, but they didn't realize that it's because I'm ESL and I was behind in English. So that I went to Sylvan Learning Center and I won my prizes, and then Kumon anyway. We were in Hawaii, and my mom had like 3, 4, 5 jobs, just trying to make ends meet, and so we were in the the food stamp line and trying to get government aid for single mom and single child. And I was allergic to pork, but the food, I remember very distinctly when we, like, in the first week we got to Hawaii, we were in the food bank line, and they gave us 2 cans of pork and beans. That's my story. Allergic to pork, and that was their government assistance to us.
So much bravery. I mean, so I want to just continue that bravery with your careers, because all of you have made such a mark on, in musical, in regular theater, just in theater, let's say. You've all made a mark in theater. Did you ever think there was a place for you in theater? I mean, because you basically were all trailblazers. I mean, there just wasn't a lot. Like, so what were you thinking about going into the arts?
I'm just going to speak for myself. The fact that I am in the arts is such an indication of the life of privilege that I live, because my parents worked so hard to give my sister and me the opportunity to pursue what we wanted to by choice as opposed to by necessity, and I think the fact that I have the luxury of living as an artist is purely because of the hard work my parents went through and the sacrifices they went through to give my sister and me that privilege to say, what would you like to do as a career? And so I think it bit on my mind just because the President Biden was speaking today. Like, every time I see those kids being dropped off at the border in Mexico, I think, what must those parents be thinking? How bad must it be in their situation to send their kids by themselves to maybe have I'm gonna cry. Maybe have a better life, And I think that's what the American dream has always been for me. It's always been for most people. Like, a lot of people today can trace their families to all the way to when was your first person that came here from another country? Because everyone in this country has it except for the Native Americans. I mean, and I think, as an artist, I will say it right away because he's right there, but like, to have David's plays exist when I was discovering plays written and in high school, I was like, oh, you can read plays, and I was like, ooh, who's this guy? And then watching the Tony Awards and seeing M. Butterfly get all the, it it was life-changing to see Asian Americans on stage accepting awards, and I think that came at a very specific time for me when I was in middle school and high school.
Oh, David, I love that. I love that you helped pave the way for Jose.
It's because I'm so much older than everybody else on this call.
Stop
That was
it,
the
David, you are
unspoken.
not.
That was the passive aggressive comment. But let me ask you, David, did you have? I feel like everyone, all of us, whatever minorities we are, and definitely me being gay, there's always been no one's interested in your story. That's what I've always gotten, is like always trying to mainstream me. And was it like that for M Butterfly? Was it just like no one wants to hear this story? It's way too specific. What kind of obstacles did you face getting that play on Broadway?
Yeah, if you talk about privilege, because my parents had the least dramatic immigration story, I had a lot of privilege. But I also want to say that when I was 10 years old, my mom, because she was a pianist, was a rehearsal pianist for a new theater that had just been founded in Los Angeles called East West Players.
Wow.
And it was the nation's first Asian American theater. So I was 10 years old. I had the choice of either getting babysat at my aunt's or going to rehearsal. So I went to rehearsal, and I don't remember that much, except that when I got to college and I decided maybe I want to start writing plays, I think it's important in retrospect that as a kid, I saw people who looked like me as directors, as actors, as artistic leaders. And maybe that put the idea into my head that I could be in this field. But there were a lot of people who didn't think that Asian and Asian American stories could work on stage until very recently. That was true in film and television too, and things are starting to get better. And M Butterfly, nobody. There was a couple producers, Stuart Ostro and then David Geffen, who took a big risk on it. But it was definitely considered a risky show. I think the cast had a betting pool when we were in previews about when the show was going to close.
Amazing.
Ann came into that cast quite early.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you remember, Dave, I first met you at college because you were visiting our mutual friend, Valerie Lau Key.
Mm-hmm.
I love Valerie.
And I think he was helping her paint her dorm room or something. And we met. I don't know. And like all I could come up with is like, this guy is a playwright. You know what I mean? I was like so excited because I was a theater major, but like there wasn't a lot of Asian representation, obviously. And then to realize that this guy that I met in my friend's dorm room was writing like these incredible things, And again, like Jose's like, I went and I bought the copy of, his play. And I was like, oh, look at this, FOB. I never heard of it. Like I just didn't know. But it was like so cool, like to be around then back in the day, and to be able to audition for David's huge success. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I was just a young pup. And it was the greatest thrill of my whole life. And of course, anytime you get cast at a Broadway show, it's incredible. But to make your Broadway debut in a play by David, I mean, come on. It's pretty lucky,
We were lucky to have you.
Well, that's very kind. I just loved that play, and what can I say? Started everything. So.
Oh, hold on, wait. Private. Oh gosh, I didn't see that. Sorry, David. There are donations. Jose.
Yes. Do you want me to read? There's a bunch of them. There's a lot. Should I read all
Read
of them?
them all, because we got to at least make $800,000.
All right, Julie from Connecticut, $5. Thank you. Thank you, Stars in the House team. Thank you for all you do. Special hello to Ann Harada and everyone. Janice from Illinois, $25. Thanks, Seth. Rest up, James. Thank you for your AAPI support. Joey from California, $25. Shout out to live chat. Thank you for welcoming me. Stars in the House is my daily sunshine. Scott from Seattle, $25.
Yay.
I'm donating in honor of the AAPI friends. I hope that all Americans will one day see their fellow men and women as people to be supported and loved. Charlie from California, $25. Thanks to both for jumping in head first to help us smile during this crazy time. Bryce from Massachusetts, $50.
Wow.
Thank you, Seth and James, for all you do. So happy I can donate again and help us get past $800,000. Feel better, James. Julia from New Hampshire, $50. Thank you for doing this for the last year. Such a beautiful gift. Excited for tonight's AAPI session. Rachel, $100. And 2 weirdos from Virginia, my mom, stepfather, Ian, and Regina, donated $200. Thanks, Mom. That made you cry with that last story I was telling. So happy to tell it. Thanks, Mom. Thanks for tuning in.
That's so lovely.
And my mom and my stepfather finally got their first shots. I think they're waiting for the second shot.
I saw that on Instagram. I was so happy for you.
Northern Virginia, it's been a weird mess over there.
Oh dear.
Every state, man, is different. Listen, I want to take our immigration break, but there's so many more things I want to talk about with you. Can you all remain on while we talk to our representative for National Immigration? I would love for you to get your input. So this is from National Immigration Law Center. Let me make sure I know what he actually does. He's the Deputy Legal Director. We have a different person each night. It is Josh Stellick. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Seth. Hey,
Josh,
esteemed panelists.
You look a little bit like you're in a dentist chair. Are you getting some work done?
I wish. It's been over a year since I've been to the dentist. So wish I were.
Just want to
clarify. I just want to say thanks for having me. I'm super honored to be here. Really honored to be here with such an esteemed group of panelists, and really moved by each person's familial immigration story.
Can you tell everybody what the National Immigration Law Center is?
Yeah, so the National Immigration Law Center, or NILC for short, we are a national nonprofit legal advocacy organization that works to advance and defend the rights of low-income immigrants. And we do that through systemic litigation, policy and legislative advocacy, and strategic communications.
And basically, you're helping. It's not partisan. You're helping basically influence laws to help immigration. And right now, we know that there's a new immigration basically law. There's DACA happening. And what I found really fascinating, that's why I wanted you to have everybody on, is when I remember being in LA talking to, I guess, the head of National Immigration Law Center, saying that one of the hardest groups being hit, I think it was Koreans at that point. Was it Koreans?
Well, South Korea is the fifth highest percentage of DACA recipients by country in the U.S. And the Philippines comes in at number 10. India also in the top 15.
Talk about what DACA is, because I don't know if people really understand what it means.
Yeah, there's a million acronyms in the legal profession. So DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It is a program that was started by President Obama that provides relief from deportation and work authorization to individuals who came to the U.S. As youth. So it is not a pathway to citizenship, nor is it a permanent solution, but it is a temporary respite from deportation and the ability to work lawfully in the U.S. That has positively impacted over about 800,000 individuals who came to the U.S. as kids.
Through no choice of their own. They're children, like Jose. Jose just was flown over. And I know it's not just like requirement. It's not just you have to be, just here when you were a kid. You have to meet certain requirements to even be eligible, right?
Yes, you have to have come by a certain time. You have to have resided continuously since 2012, when then President Obama announced the program, and you have to meet certain educational, military, or other requirements.
That's the point. It's not just like, hey, they're quote unquote freeloading. It's all myths from the other side. So you have to actually be educated. So let me ask you, what's being fought right now? Are they trying to take away DACA? Like I'm so behind the times on it.
Well, our prior president did try to take away DACA. We with our courageous plaintiffs and legal partners, were one of several lawsuits that went to the Supreme Court challenging then President Trump's attempt to rescind the program, and were successful in preventing then President Trump from rescinding the DACA program. But that is part of the issue with DACA, is that it wasn't passed through Congress, so it is vulnerable. And so there is, even though it provides much needed protection and work authorization to over 800,000 individuals, there is still a need for Congress to step in and provide a permanent fix and a pathway to citizenship for these folks and folks who came to the U.S. As youth.
I see. I now understand because it was done through a president. It was like a presidential order or something, but it's not the same thing. I see. Okay. So what can people do now if they want to help out?
So folks may have heard that last week the Dream and Promise Act was passed through the U.S. House of Representatives, and the Dream and Promise Act would provide a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrant youth, and also for a couple of other groups of immigrants, including immigrants who have temporary protected status, who similarly have been in the U.S. for a long time. So the average DACA recipient arrived in the U.S. at age 6. The average TPS holder has been in the U.S. for 22 years. And immigrant youth and TPS recipients have been living under excruciating uncertainty. As I mentioned, then President Trump tried to rescind DACA in 2017. We filed suit immediately to challenge the rescission of DACA. Our case, went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court ruled on it last June. So there's been this long period of uncertainty for DACA recipients, and there is a need for a permanent congressional fix.
We have just 5 people on the panel tonight, and everyone has like a fascinating story. You just think about every single person that has a story that's, that needs help. But before I let Josh go, first of all, I want to put up the website, and everyone can just go. It's so small. Wait, that's not what I wanted. Can I make it bigger than that? Hold on. Why is it so tiny on the bottom? Hold on. There it is. It's NILC.org. Thanks, David. NILC.org/action. So NILC stands for National Immigration Law Center. Also follow them. But before I let Josh go, does anybody want to ask anything of Josh about what's going down? I don't want to put the pressure on. I just want to make sure that we covered everything.
So the term dreamers, that's another term for the DACA recipients, correct?
Yes, that's typically a term that came from. That's typically a term, that refers to folks who came to the U.S. Undocumented folks in their youth, and NILC has worked on what was called the DREAM Act, which was an earlier iteration of the current Dream and Promise Act for many years, and we are really hopeful that this will finally be the year in which Congress steps up, does the right thing, and provides a permanent fix and a permanent pathway to citizenship for upwards of 4.4 million individuals.
And pressure helps. I mean, really, just at least follow them on Twitter so you could just retweet. It's like such an easy thing, but pressure really does help. All right, so
if you go to NILC.org/action, you can easily and just readily, with the click of a button, send a letter to your congressperson, and particularly to your senator, since this bill's passed the House and is now pending in the U.S. Senate. You can easily send a letter to your senator urging them to support the Dream and Promise Act.
Click of a button. All right, so every night, yes, Pearl.
So, Josh, just to clarify, we're all waiting on what the Senate decides, and until then, those children are all just in a state of just being held and holding pattern.
Yes, although DACA remains available through our lawsuit and several other lawsuits across the country, we were able to prevent then President Trump from rescinding the program. So DACA remains still available to first-time applicants, as well as for renewals for folks who already have DACA status.
And there has been an increase of children, correct? Am I correct in what I had read in the past in the papers, that it has been an increase since Biden's presidency, because there's maybe perhaps belief that there's more opportunity? Or
I'll feel that. If you heard Biden speak today, he said basically always this time of year there's an increase because it's the winter, and they know that devastatingly they won't die in the desert. So there's been sort of double talk about like, look how many are coming. And every single year there's always an increase. And actually right now this year, I heard there's actually not even as many as last year. Josh, did I actually hear correctly?
I think that is correct. And part of what's happening is Biden has undone is taking steps to undo then President Trump's policy, which had basically closed the southern border on the pretext of COVID, and turned away potential refugees or asylum seekers who then were forced to wait out their case in Mexico, the so-called remain in Mexico policy. Biden is undoing that, and as part of that is allowing unaccompanied minors to come into the U.S., which is creating then a need to find safe and humanitarian housing for them. There's a piece that I feel like gets sort of lost in the media coverage. That part of why we're seeing this is because Biden has taken a necessary and moral first step to at least allow unaccompanied minors into the country.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for clarifying.
That is the link. Josh, thank you. Tomorrow night, we're going to have another representative here talk about immigration with the reunion of Ragtime. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate being here and appreciate all of you do.
Thanks, Josh.
Well, back at you. Oh, this is great. Okay, I want to just tell people this is very exciting news that we have to raise $605 tonight to get up to $800,000. We have so far raised $505. So we are $100 away. So I'm waiting for those donations. So let's see what happens. Don't forget, starsinthehouse.com. The lowest amount is $5. Keep them coming. Okay, so I was talking. Well, let me go back for 1 second, just because I have all these fun clips. So I want to at least show some of them. Jose, I always make you tell the story, but I'm sure there's someone here that does not know. Maybe David doesn't, or Pearl. Can you please tell how you got your first Broadway show, which involves criminal behavior? I know, but there's got to be someone who doesn't know this story.
There's 15 people rolling their eyes. I was going to tell the story again.
Yes.
I was a freshman in college. I heard that they were auditioning for The King and I. I didn't know what an EPA was. I just went, and I thought they would let me sing during lunch or something at the end of the day. It was an agent submission day. I waited. Around noon, someone didn't show up. They called someone's name. He wasn't there. So I raised my hand. I walked in the door. Luckily, it was just, I think, Jay Binder's associate.
Hold on, clarify. They called someone's name. Jose was like, "That's me." Keep going.
I mean, it's what you do when you're like a ballsy 17-year-old, a freshman in college. You're like, sure, that's what everyone does, you know? And I had learned I Have Dreamed from The King and I, and sang it for him. He's writing on this guy's resume with his face down. And he's like, well, I think you're probably going to call back. And I start crying because I'm thinking I'm going to get arrested because I'm impersonating real actors and professionals. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm a freshman at Manhattan School of Music and I just came for the experience and please don't get me in trouble. And he flips over Robert's whatever's resume and he says, oh, no, that's not you, is it? I'm like, no. He's like, give me your resume. And it was literally a piece of paper. I typed my name and my pager number on it, you know. And he says, you know, and that was March of 95. And they called me back a dozen more times through the spring and early summer. And then I booked it by the end of the summer. So.
Such a great story. It's such a metaphor for just it's literally what the stories we've been hearing about, taking these crazy risks and just
right. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, honestly, it was one of those things where I so many things. I was so ignorant of the process. I didn't know what an EPA was. I didn't know that that there was agent submission. I didn't know what, you know. And so I just thought, hey, no one wants to take this spot. I'll take it. It was one of those just go forward blindly and there you go. And I think that was also part of the character naivete. I think that's what helped me get the part a little bit. I was just kind of this ball of energy walking.
That helped. It helped Jose get this part.
Behold and believe what you see.
realize that
Babies.
the position that Lara Lubavitch had me sitting in and singing that like glissando down, I was literally contorted like in a yoga position. Like, yeah,
But-
that was Cornelia Luna. That was the second year, and that was still Taewon Kim behind us, sneaking around, Miss Lady Chiang, sneaking around.
Yeah, always lurking in the background. Speaking of lurking, we have more donations. Ann Harada.
Okay, here we go. I don't remember the last time I was so moved watching Stars in the House. Thank you, guests, for sharing your stories. Jocelyn from Florida, $9. Thank you, Seth, for putting together all these shows that honor theater minorities. So nice to see David Henry Hwang. I saw the original production of Flower Drum Song. Susie from Seattle, $25.
Whoa.
Thanks, Susie.
Samantha from New York, $25. Carrie from California donated $100. I'd be honored if any of the panelists read this. They are all amazing. Well, thanks, Carrie. As an AAPI immigrant myself, it feels right to give tonight. Seth and James, thanks for always meeting the moment with meaningful discussions and amplifying the appropriate voices. Gladys from California, $100. Thank you, everybody. That's so
Yay.
sweet.
We've surpassed it. Oh my God.
Yay!
You guys, that doesn't mean stop donating. Let's get some more tonight. I got to keep pushing. Okay. So Pearl, I was talking about, any possibility to be on Broadway. Did you think there was any way you'd get to Broadway?
I mean, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and my parents were actually one of the things that they bonded on was their love for Chinese opera. So they frequented the Chinese opera clubs in San Francisco, and then when they moved down to Los Angeles after having gotten married, they started their own Chinese opera club. So once a week they would meet on Saturdays, and then once a year they would put on their own production. And as this is a story that was told to me, obviously, because I was only 6 months old, but apparently my first time on stage I was 6 months. My mother was holding me in the wings and having a conversation with somebody in the wings, and my father was on stage performing. And she set me down on the ground as she just was talking to her friend, and I started to crawl out there to my dad. And I basically stopped the show. Like half of the audience were friends in the community, and they knew who I was, and they knew that I was his daughter, and they just cheered. And so, growing up, I did a few Chinese operas as well with them. And in high school, I did productions. I did Joseph, and I played the narrator, and I played Sandy in Grease. And so finally, I just said, they weren't supportive at all because they were terrified I was going to starve to death. They just thought, this is what you do on the side for fun. This is what we've done on the side for fun. And finally, in college, I did a production of Closer Than Ever. And there was a local playhouse. The owner of the Pasadena Playhouse had acquired the theater and wanted a show to put in for the reopening of it. And it was a 99-seat black box theater. And he came to see our show because one of the actors in it was a friend of his. And he said, "This is perfect. It's small. It's inexpensive to produce. This is what we're going to do for our reopening of the Pasadena Playhouse." And so I, as a college student, we did Thursday to Sunday performances for a month. And my parents came to see it, and they looked to the left and to the right, and they said, "Oh, there are people here who aren't family and friends, who have paid money for tickets, and they're enjoying her. She might have something." And so from that point forward, they were 100% supportive, have seen me in everything. And I transferred to NYU and went to school there to study. And then that's it. They just decided, and I blamed them. I said, you were doing Chinese opera. I was with you every week. What do you think? You gave me the bug. So
We got you hooked, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, being Asian and the two different triumphs are having great Asian lead roles and also playing a role that isn't necessarily Asian. Like both of them to me are triumphant. But Ruthie Ann, what's it like playing an Asian lead role, but of someone who maybe isn't such a hero? Imelda Marcos? Like, what's that like to have this great role, but you're not really playing the best person I've ever met?
Well, she's the best person to herself, isn't she? So as long as I'm not listening to the audience, I'm all in my head.
That's interesting. So that's how you played. You played as like you're making all the right choices. You're not making any devious choices. They're all just great choices.
No, they all make sense in my own head. And you know what? Alex is a genius when it comes to, I don't know if he did this on purpose, but every other day he would give me a different direction that was completely polar from the other day. And so I was like, you want A or do you want B? Do you want red or do you want blue? Do you want one or do you want two? Which one do you want? You keep giving, he's trying to make me bipolar. I think he was trying to make me bipolar. And so he gave me, I'm not going to go into her mental health, but there are things, that people say about her mental health. And he gave me a lot of layers to play with. And so every other day I just had to pick. Today I'm going to do C3. Today I'm going to do blue 4. I'm going to do.
And I tell you, as her scene partner during those rehearsal days, I saw all those colors. I saw all of them. She's a genius.
There was one day, it was like really not a funny scene, and I just started like hysterically laughing on stage. And Natalie was like, "Ruthie, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I was just playing with the color. Sorry, I have no idea. It's performance."
You're like, it's downtown theater. It's downtown. We're downtown.
It's downtown.
So great. We're talking, of course, about Here Lies Love, where they both played the Marcos. And Ruthie, please discuss that I was obsessed with the weird dance step, which is it's a combination of cat eyes and snapping.
This
crazy. What is it? I'm obsessed with it. It is so cool. The flicking.
Okay, so I was talking with. Okay, so it started with the idea was when I was in college. I was like shy, not really shy, but I would like oh, I'm the new girl. I'm transfer. I would go to my car and sing. And then a friend of mine joined me in the car, and she's like, "So what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, this is just like my quiet spot." And I would call them international dance parties. I loved the Buddha bar mixes, like in France. So I would buy these dinner theater, and I would just like jam out in my car, and I would dance. And this was actually one of the moves that I would do in my car. And I was like, international dance party. And we would like fake dance in the car for like 30 minutes before class. And it just helped me because I transferred into a school in Florida and I had ZA friends. And I was like, this is how I'm going to pump myself up to go into, a drama class full of people that I don't know. And so when Annie B in Here Lies Love was like, now we're just going to like jam out. I was like, I'm not a dancer. This is what I'm going to do. I had a national dance party by myself as an only child on stage. And then I learned that this is actually this is where it gets a little bit like, whoa, it's like meant to be. That this movement itself is like, I'm chasing away the bad spirits and I'm bringing in the money. And so it's like welcoming the money and chasing away evil. And so it actually turned out to be a move that Imelda did, and we have her on video doing it. And so we have it playing in the background. And I was like, international dance party. You should sing international dance party. So
That's what this move out about. Because you see her, you literally see Imelda Marcos doing that step. I'm going to show Ruthie doing it. It's the coolest step.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yay!
International dance party.
It's so cool. I have so many more things to cover. So, David, I was watching M. Butterfly and the Tonys, and I'm so obsessed with the pace. Is as you're writing, I have to say, like, as a writer myself, not at your level, dear, but like I definitely hear in my head how something should be spoken. When you were writing that dialogue, were you like, this is crazy right after another, or was the director like, let's just really like be incredibly fast?
I think so. I'm taking it down when writing's going well. It's like I'm transcribing, right? It's like I'm hearing these voices, and I'm an audience member, and I'm just writing it down. Now, I don't necessarily remember how it sounds, however. So by the time it gets to the page, it's a few months later. You're in rehearsals. You're doing a reading. Then it's just really a question of how's it working with these actors. And what's the event that's happening on stage, not necessarily what I imagined in my head. So I can't answer your question. I'm ducking your question because I don't remember.
No, I don't mind that. I'm going to show this one moment where basically, because I'm known for my deconstructions, and basically B.D. Wong's character deconstructs Madame Butterfly, which I love. Did you? Because it reminds me of my friend Ann Martin used to talk about the TV show Who's the Boss, and it's like, I pay your salary, but I'm a woman. Who's the boss? It's like, you are. So anyway, that's what I feel like. Did you love like having this opportunity to just totally bust Madame Butterfly's plot?
Yeah.
It's so
really
here. Everybody
fun.
watch. It's so great. I love how the deconstruction is so great, and BD, the fast pace is so great.
Oh, it's a very beautiful story. Well, yes, to a Westerner. Excuse me? Well, it's one of your favorite fantasies, isn't it? The submissive Oriental woman and the cruel white man.
I didn't quite...
Consider it this way. What would you say if a blonde homecoming queen fell in love with a short Japanese businessman? He treats her cruelly, and then he goes home for 3 years, during which time she prays to his picture and turns down marriage from a young Kennedy. Then later, when she learns that he has remarried, she kills herself. Now, I believe that you would consider this girl to be a deranged idiot, correct? But because it's an Oriental who kills herself for a Westerner, you'll find it beautiful.
Yes. Amazing.
It's such a great bust. I just love it.
Yeah, that was in the first draft, and that never changed.
Wow. Oh, that's just wonderful. And
I'm one of the people. Cause obviously I was in Virginia, and I didn't see M Butterfly on Broadway, but I read M Butterfly before I ever saw. I've technically never seen it on stage because I read it, and to see and to read what I felt like for the first time, an Asian American voice, like someone who was writing about, and it was so powerful for me to know that there was someone out there that was writing in a voice that represented a specific perspective that I could totally understand, that I didn't have to explain myself to people. It was really, really powerful. Really,
Thank
really
you.
powerful.
This show's going so well for me. Thank you.
It's not a roast or a takedown. So what I was talking about, one of the triumphs is playing a role that not necessarily is written for somebody Asian. And did you enjoy playing Madame Thenardier? First of all, it's always, on a side note, it's always interesting when you grow into a character role. Like, weren't you like, I'm Eponine? Weren't you like, wait, now I'm Thenardier? Like, what was that like, being offered that part?
Well, I never thought I would ever be anything in that show, ever. And it was the biggest thing on Broadway when I first moved to the city. You know what I mean? So it was completely beyond my dream world. I just thought, well, I'll never be in that show, so I don't have to worry about it. I mean, I would sing on my own for auditions. You know what I mean? So what? Everybody did. That was our thing then.
Right. We all did.
We all did. And then when I got offered the chance to play Madame Thenardier, I was just so excited, because how many chances, are you going to get at something like that? Something so iconic and, and I've told the story many times, how awful my first week was, because, when you get put into a show, especially a long running show, they don't rehearse you with everybody else. And you so you're with you and the stage manager and you know what I mean? And you learn it all by rote. You're not learning it organically. You're learning it. And literally it was now I move a bowl. Here's your spoon. Every single thing of that song had a movement, and it had to go a certain way. Okay, fine. So I'm doing Now You Move a Bowl. And in the first week, Gary Beach missed his entrance because of a costume malfunction that happened to Max von Essen on the other side of the stage. So they shared a dresser, and the dresser didn't get to Gary on time. And so he missed his entrance completely. And we were starting Master of the House. And nobody knew what to do because he just wasn't there. There was no master of the house. But it's Les Mis, so you don't want to like stop. So they started the song. Now we're all there together. Everybody's in the inn going like, where's that old Thénardier? There was a lot of that kind of stuff going on. You know, like, ha, 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 where is that old guy? Like, nothing. I'm looking at the stage manager and they're like, guys, go look and see if he died. Because why isn't he here? His dressing room is like, you know, like super close. Go check on him. You know. Meanwhile, we're not starting. We're not starting this song. Now, if I had been rehearsed in this show properly, I might have known to start it, or at least sort of start it. If my husband were here, he'd say, welcome, you sit yourself down. You know what I mean? Something. I would have come up with something. But I didn't know it at all. I only knew my 5 lines in the middle. So I knew now I move a bowl, which is not helpful. You know,
now I move a bowl.
I mean, but that's literally what it was. It was like, you have to get these utensils to these people at a certain time. Now I move a bowl. Here's your spoon. And I was like, this is not moving plot along.
But I have to say, you're so amazing because I was watching your clip and it's like, you take an old comedy song that I played in the orchestra, like I know by heart, and you made me laugh. Like you actually found comedy in it. And it's like, I mean, it's so impressive to take an old sawhorse and find comedy. I was super impressed.
Well, that's really sweet of you because I had no idea what I was doing ever.
But can I say, as someone who also saw Les Mis as this like Les Mis was one of the shows I fell in love with in high school that brought me to New York because I want to be in that show. If I were like a middle school like theater geek, Asian American, and I went to go see Les Mis on Broadway, and I saw Ann freaking Harada playing Madame Thénardier, that would have meant so much to me as a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old or a 15. You know what I mean? Like the level of importance of that is so huge. Because I never saw people who look like me play Marius or Valjean or Javert. Like the white people, and I was like, oh, maybe one day I can, you know, maybe. And so it's huge.
That's the thing, though. That's why we're here. It's like the representation is unbelievably important. Yeah. Maybe we don't think it or know it ourselves per se because it's us. And it's like, so who cares? But if you're a young person and you see yourself, it just it like expands your mind. It gives you a sense of what's possible. You know, and that is totally why I think we have to keep encouraging people to cast us for our souls and not our faces. You know, that is the most important. That's the one thing.
Can we make that a hashtag? Cast us for our souls and not our faces.
Oh my God, that's such a great line, Ann Harada.
But it's like, tell me how I feel. You know, like if Robin Goodman, who, I was in Avenue Q for her, and she was able to see that I was also capable of playing Charlotte, the stepsister in Cinderella. You know, not because of this, but because of who I am. That's what's important to me. It's like, you can see me. You're seeing me.
Right.
The real me inside me. That's all.
I love everything you said, and I'm backing up your brilliant comedy. Everybody watch how she makes these comedic moments. It's so great. I love it. Watch this.
I used to dream that I would meet a prince, but God Almighty, have you seen what's happened since? Master of the house, is it worth my spit? Comforter, philosopher, and lifelong shit. Coming little pretty, regular Voltaire. Thinks he's quite a lover, but there's not much.
That is a great line reading. The fading out is amazing.
I've never seen that clip. Where did you get that?
I was going to say, have you ever seen that?
No. I've never seen me in any moment of Les Mis.
Took that from the mezzanine.
on my BlackBerry.
Yeah.
And because it was like 7 years ago. What did it feel like to watch that?
Crazy. Like I was like, oh yeah, I can sort of see that's me. But like I have no recollection. No recollection. You know, you're just doing stuff. When you're in it, you're just doing it. You don't really know how it's playing or what you're doing.
I map out all my comedy bits till they're stale. Pearl, let me talk to you for a second. So what about you? You know, you got that amazing comment before about Next to Normal. It is that kind of thing where when you saw Next to Normal, did you ever think, oh, maybe they'll cast somebody Asian in the lead, or you're like, this is such a white bread America story, it'll never happen?
I'll tell you, my agent was bracing me and saying, I just want to let you know they're probably casting a family. So my agent was actually preemptively, because he was worried about my heart, because he knew how much I loved the piece. And he said, I just want you to know, go in, do the best that you can, but I just want to prepare you that they may be looking to cast a family. And I said, okay. And yeah, you know, I just was so moved by the piece, and I had seen the original cast do it. And it was just, I felt so connected to it, and I felt like it was right in my wheelhouse. And I just said, you know what? I pushed really hard to get in, and they wouldn't see me at first. The casting office wouldn't see me because they said I was too young. And then they went through with the auditions, and they didn't find enough people to bring back to the creative team for callbacks. So they needed to fill out their roster. And that's when I had just gone in for Elf, or I think it was Elf. And one of the casting people in the Elf room said she did great there. And I think with the right hair and makeup, it might work. Let's just bring her in. And so I came in to the final callbacks, and it was an evening audition. And then the next afternoon, I got the call that I got it.
Yes.
What did that feel like?
In Philadelphia, by the way.
Huh?
I have so many friends who saw you in Philadelphia.
Oh.
Philadelphia. Yeah.
I mean, I was overwhelmed, and I wound up going on quite a bit. I wound up going on maybe twice a week. So I was more like an alternate. And then in Chicago, Alice sadly got so sick in Chicago, and I did 9 out of the 16 performances there. So, wow. I mean, and I remember I was sitting in the audience just watching, because I was also the dance captain.
Of course you were.
And I was at the Amundsen in LA, and I was sitting, and during intermission, I was sitting with another standby next to me. We were both watching it. And then during intermission, there was a Caucasian couple to the right of us in our row. The wife is right next to me, and he's over there, and he opens the program and leans over to her and says, and points at my picture and says, now how's that going to work? Oh. And, you know, if I had inside, I was like, it works really great. Thanks. But I couldn't bring myself to say it like in the moment. Like I was just so floored that somebody would actually care to say that. But it was such an incredible experience, and what an amazing role to play. Right.
I have some clip of you doing it. I'm not sure from where. I think. Let me see. I hope this is you. I mean, I know it's you, but I hope it's. Let's see.
Nope.
Wait, no, hold on.
That's my Andini.
I knew it looked different. That's not what I. Sorry, David. I'm gonna send it to you again, because I know I saw you. I mean, it definitely was you. It just looks so different. Hold on. So while I'm doing this, Ruthie Ann, why don't you read? Why don't you read donations? I'm gonna resend it to you, David.
So Jose, you will know these things. It says, "I love you, Jose and Ruthie. Best from Amaya and Adriana, our little baby and I. They together are donating $15. Abigail from Illinois says, "Thank you so much for sharing all of your beautiful stories." Thank you, Abigail. Kathy from Virginia. Oh, Abigail from Illinois is donating $10. Kathy from Virginia donates $25, and she says, "I am the daughter of AAPI immigrants." That's Asian American Pacific Islander immigrants, for those who don't know, and get such a wonderful feeling seeing these great and beautiful actors and actresses on Stars in the House today. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Kathy. It is I think I speak for my friends here. It is our pleasure to be here. Bob from Rhode Island donates $50, and he says, thanks for a great discussion. I teach Asian American Studies at Brown, and I teach about each and every one of your work. Thank you, Bob. That's very sweet.
Wow.
Darlene.
Brown, right? Yeah, Brown.
What's that? Yeah. Oh, you went to Brown?
I did.
No, Rob from Rhode Island.
Well, hi, Rob. Let's talk.
Yeah. Okay, Darlene from California donates $50, and she says, thank you, Seth and James. Thank you, Seth and James. I think we can all do a virtual round of applause. As an AAPI person, today's show means the most to me, as I'm thrilled to see all the amazing and talented AAPI guests. Thank you to all of them for being such wonderful artists and representatives. Thank you, Darlene. And one more, Stephanie from New York also donates $50. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for tonight's show. AAPI on Broadway forever. Oh, another one. $100 from Emily. She says, thank you to everyone for all that you do and for the theater community. Well, thank you for what you do for the theater. I don't want to do Emily wrong. Thank you to everyone for all that you do for the theater community. Seeing Ann Avenue Q and Ruthie and Here Lies Love meant so much to this Korean American girl from Nebraska. I can't wait for theater to come back. Oh, thank you, Emily.
Same here.
Thanks, guys. Wow, I think we're past. I think we've done 800,000 tonight.
He's out of control. Okay, so hold on. I'm sending this to David. Hold on.
Someone's tallying online. I saw it a while ago.
She's really good. I think it's Julia, who's like a regular here. Okay, so wait. Before we have some more things to cover before everybody goes. So let me just say, I'm going to show a couple of surprise clips that people have forgotten about. Jose, this is something we all did together. This is one of my yearly fundraisers that I do for the Gay and Lesbian Synagogue in New York, Beth Simchas Torah. That's where I was saying the rabbi told me about the Jewish and Italian people being left out. Sharon Kleinbaum, who I love. So this is years ago, Jose. It's you and Jason and Paul and your own choreography, and I think it's pretty good. Revival, people, revival.
Skills will help you to survive. Make your fantasy survive. Girls always love you and they'll be true. Your hero can only belong to you. I'm not the dream that you've had before. I'm the dream that will give you more and more. You're your dream girl, Lord, will make you happy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're your dream girl, boys.
Do it right now. I don't any place.
You remember where we did that first, though, right? Right, Seth? That was the first Rosie Cruise.
Oh my God, that's where we first did it.
The very first Rosie Cruise. That was 2001.
No, like 3.
Wow. So that was like the big show we did, and we did it was Gavin, me, and Paul. Gavin Coyle, me, and Paul. And actually, we need like a fun closing number, and we literally choreographed that on the cruise ship, in the cruise ship like dance studio. It was a gym, whatever, and it was all Gavin and Paul and then you said, and then we resurrected it for
It needs to come back again post pandemic.
Oh,
okay, Pearl, I did find amazingness. Let us all enjoy the devastation of someone missing the highs and lows of mental illness, unfortunately, but it's a great song. Okay, enjoy.
Nothing's real, and I miss the
Wish I seen you in that, Pearl.
Pearl, I'm crying.
I know. Scene. Ugh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe this will make you cry. This is another benefit we did for Sutton's childhood theater, Peanut Butter Players.
Oh, I
it
know what
was
this is then. Okay.
This is at the Chatterbox, my talk show for Broadway Cares, and you had just learned it. So Ann Harada is Lucy Van Pelt, Jen Cody is Sally Brown, and Sutton Foster is Peppermint Patty. This is so fun.
I know now that you can't lace a shoe right, you can't live on bubble gum. I know now that I'll never learn to spell chrysanthemum. I know now that you can't buy a bike for $1. I know now that you can't fit a flea for a collar. You get it, Sally? I know now that you can't milk a cowslip. You can, but it takes no time.
Wow. It's amazing.
500 years ago.
It's like that's some Beltalicious happening there. Beltalicious.
Oh, good.
Three ladies. Okay, and my final clip before we have our little finale. So I used to do entertainment Tonight, I think it was, on Tony Award night, the night that Ruthie Ann won her Tony Award. And we were talking about a lot of times Asian parents do not support their children going into the arts. And I said to Ruthie Ann, I said, what did your mom want you to do? Did she want you to be an actress? And she was like, no, she wanted me to be a dentist. And I said, well, what about now that you won the Tony Award? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, let's call her. So this is us on Entertainment Tonight. And I literally got her cell phone, called her, and this is Ruthie Ann. And I'm asking her, does she still need to be a dentist even though she has the Tony Award? By the way, look how stunning Ruthie Ann looks. This is right after she won the Tony Award. Ruthie, let's relive this moment. By the way, do you remember this?
I do.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, Ruthie Ann is concerned that perhaps you still want her to be a dentist instead of an actress. Is Tony Award enough to prove that she should definitely keep pursuing acting? Well,
Mom?
she's laughing. That's a good sign.
He wants to know if you're proud of me.
Are you proud of Ruthie Ann? Of course, twice. Of course. Okay, so the good news is, so you say that Ruthie Ann can still be an actress. Sure, yes. Should she be a dentist? Why not? Okay. Okay, good to know.
Why not?
She said there's still time.
Ruthie, both.
Got days
There's
free.
still
Don't worry
time.
about it.
Yeah.
There's still time. If you wait 5 minutes, she's gonna bring the baby back. You'll see her. You can ask her again.
Hilarious. We took that picture where Ruthie Ann was literally investigating my mouth. Remember, we did like a full
I
plaque.
remember. Like, let's see, amalgam, composite. What do we got?
Exactly. Okay, so wait, two final things. So first, we have guest appearance by Pfizer vaccine number 2, James Wesley.
Okay, this is the best show ever. Oh my, I've been so enjoying watching it downstairs. I'm exhausted, but I had to come up and just say thank you all for coming on the show. It's just so touching and moving and important. And you know, tomorrow we have Ragtime on, and so Audra McDonald and I have been emailing back and forth this evening.
Such a name dropper.
Well, you know, we got to promote tomorrow's show too, and keep bringing in the donations. By the way, the donations tonight were amazing.
I know.
Oh my gosh! But Audra was saying the same thing. Audra has watched a part of the show tonight, and she was saying how much she's loved it and how important it is to have the representation on here. So I just wanted to convey that message that Audra said the same thing and how much she's enjoyed it. So thank you. I know I was crying too. Everyone's stories amazing.
It's like Audra's one of those safe people where you can just say Audra, but what if it was actually like Audra Fernstein or Audra Schmegelstein? About, you know, and
100%.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, my friend Audra.
Ooh. Oh, now I'm crying. Okay, so wait, before we go, I literally harassed Pearl's son into singing. Pearl, I know there's a lot of emotions, but we always have to have some music. It always helps donations. So we'd love you to haul something out. I wasn't at your sound check, so I don't even know what you're hauling out.
Well, and I'm glad James is here because, I feel that James is a bit of a fan of this particular person that I'm going to be singing a song.
I'm so excited.
That she wrote and sang so lovingly herself. So here we go. Back through the years I go wandering once again, back to the seasons of my youth. I recall a box of rags that someone gave us, and how my mama put the rags to use. There were rags of many colors, but every piece was small. And I didn't have a coat, and it was way down in the fall. Mama sewed the rags together, sewing every piece with love. She made my coat of many colors that I was so proud of. As she sewed, she told a story from the Bible she had read about a coat of many colors Joseph wore, and then she said, perhaps this coat will bring you good luck and happiness. And I just couldn't wait to wear it, and Mama blessed it with a kiss. My coat of many colors that my mama made for me, made only from rags, but I wore it so proudly. Although we had no money, well, I was rich as I could be, in my coat of many colors my mama made for me. Key change. So with patches on my breeches and holes in both my shoes, in my coat of many colors I hurried off to school, just to find the others laughing and making fun of me, and my coat of many colors my mama made for me. No, I couldn't understand it, for I felt I was rich, and I told them of the love my mama sewed in every stitch, and I told them all the story Mama told me while she sewed, that how my coat of many colors was worth more than all their clothes. But they didn't understand it, and I tried to make them see that one is only poor only if they choose to be. And I know we had no money, but I was rich as I could be, in my coat of many colors my mama made for me, made just for me.
Yes, Queen.
Oh my gosh!
Amazing.
Yes, I got here just in time.
Yeah, I was so nervous you were going to be here tonight. I'm so glad I asked Pearl to sing that. Oh, Pearl, that was so lovely.
Pearl, that
And
was
perfect
awesome.
for the night.
James, go run to the bedroom and show everybody the shirt I just got you. Do you still have it?
Oh, yes, okay.
Just-
Well, it may be in the hamper, but I'll do it while you're wrapping.
Okay. As we wrap up, guys, what a great night, everyone. David, do you have a future project to look forward to?
Yeah, I'm still working on stuff, of course, but actually, if I have a sec, I just want to say we were really thrilled to be here today because it's been such a tough week for the AAPI community after a tough year of a lot of hate, and I think all of us have felt vulnerable. And hate crimes are up 150% over the past year, and so. Just to be here and represent and be human, that's a great privilege, and hope we were able to provide some happiness.
Yes. And let me ask, because of course I did want to discuss that. just before we go, is there anything that allies can do besides, it's interesting. I read this one list, which I loved. It was just saying, really order from your local Asian restaurant. And I was like, that's easy. I mean, is there anything else? Because I love that. But like, any advice you guys have for allies?
Speak up. Like so many of us are not feeling safe, and be able to intervene and protect. And when you see bad incidents,
Right.
There's so many cases of people, and this is the most heartbreaking part of it is, these crimes are happening, but the more heartbreaking part of it is when I hear and read about stories about victims who say that there were people around who didn't help them.
Yeah.
And so there is bystander training out there. I'm sure you can Google it. They talk about that it is a difference of 3 seconds. And sometimes we're often paralyzed if we see something happening that's so horrific. But it's a matter of 3 seconds that you can actually really mark some real change. And I know that there was another incident where people followed the perpetrator downstairs to the subway station to take some photographs and video, and that is helpful so that these people can be found and traced.
Accountable. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think that obviously donations, if you can, to different organizations that are helping these victims. I also think it's really important, if you have the time, there are resources, like there's a wonderful documentary called Asian Americans that you can access on PBS.
Yeah.
It's a 5-part documentary series. There are Asian American history books. I think the more we understand that this isn't a singular period of time, and the more we understand that we are a part of American history as well, and the more that non-Asian Pacific Islanders also understand that we are a part of the fabric of this nation, that perhaps more understanding and more grace and more empathy can be found.
And it's something really small. I can't think of a better time to, because I know as New Yorkers, we tend to live our days, kind of with our heads down and don't necessarily know everybody's names. But now might be a good time to go down to that deli you go to every day and introduce yourself and say, what's your name? If you can put a name to people that you see every day, it'll be easier. If you see something does go wrong, you say, that's my friend Bill, or that's my friend, and I can I can help that person. And so I think if we all reach out to our individual communities just to get a little closer and understand that we can all help each other, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, for mentioning, for kind of opening this part dialogue. The CAATA, which is the Consortium of Asian American Theater and Artists, today put out a video of just theater performers and writers and directors and voices in our field. Together we put out a big monologue together, and I think it's out today. And at the end of that video, there is a list of places that you can support, and it's just here. I've got it on my phone.
Is it on your social media? Because I'm sure everyone can easily follow you guys.
The action item is to go. Where is it? There it is. So it's this pretty great list of places that you can check out, but you do have to go to our social media to see it. So,
and I just retweeted the video too. So
help us amplify, help us get it out, and at the end you will see places that you can support. Yeah.
Oh, and also not to add not to attach a nationality to this virus.
Yes.
We need to no longer do that.
It never should have been, but yes, of course. If anyone was doing it, let's stop it. But it never should have happened in the first place. I love that you guys are talking about that, and all your social media is very obvious too. It's not. There's no crazy like the Jose Llana, is it? Is it just like normal? Can I just find it? I mean, I follow you guys anyway, but everyone I think is pretty. I think everyone here is pretty literal here.
Actually, it is the Jose Llana.
You know what?
Here's the thing. Now everyone watching will know that.
When I opened that Twitter account 1,000 years ago, someone already had Jose Llana, and it was
Well, you know what? It's your karma for stealing someone else's identity for the King and I audition.
I was just going to say that, Seth. I was just going to say Jose Robert Llana, who was maybe going to be cast as Llana.
It was not literal.
This is Jose's revenge to get on
so
Twitter
funny
first.
that he just had the middle name Robert. That is hilarious. Okay, so tomorrow night is drag time. Pearl Sun, we want to just show you how much that song meant. This is just the shirt that James was wearing yesterday. I just bought for him. That is our live. That's Glenn Hansen drew that.
Oh my God, she looks so good. She looks so good.
Isn't that great?
I wore it to bed last night.
Well, there's also a shirt going around with Dolly on it that says vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. vaccine.
Yes, she's Miss Moderna.
Yes.
All right. Everybody, thank you for being here. It was so really just, it was so wonderful to see you guys. And I'm so proud of all of you. And thanks for being so open and honest about everything. And I think tomorrow night is ragtime. Saturday night is off for a little Seder, as we say in the Pesach business.
Happy Pesach.
Thank you. Very nice
And
pronunciation.
Seth, I'm sure people say this all the time, but I mean, Seth and James and your team, just you guys are incredible. So incredible. You've offered such hope and joy and you know, love for people who love theater, and just letting us have this platform to speak and also, you know, share valuable information. You have been invaluable during this pandemic.
For over a year.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine having to do this all the time.
Yeah, you guys have been
every day. Like I just can't even. It's just you guys are wonderful, and you know we all know and whatever. But I'm just saying,
truly.
You have been essential workers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, David.
Now I'm crying. Well, thank you.
Well,
It's very nice.
this was a perfect night to, by the way, get over the 800,000 mark.
Well over it.
Yay, well over it. Yes.
That's
What
right.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great
everyone.
celebration.
Thank you, everyone. I guess that's my right.
Tomorrow with ragtime. And we have a matching donation tomorrow for $2,500 from the Angie Torres Foundation. So
bring it.
Bring on more money. Let's get to 900,000 and then $1 million.
All right. See everybody again. You'll be on again. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye, everyone.
Sweet people. Here's some.
All right, Seth, you keep playing. I'm going to go and lay back down.
I don't remember the rest of it.